So I just finished the episode. So one thing one thing I can say is that his passion towards acting is very closely linked to his feelings with Oh-aew and relationship with Oh-aew, because even from the beginning, from ITSAY, when he was taking the exam for the first exam or interview, in the very beginning of the first episode, he was playing a Yeonjan, and he was asked like, why did you choose this role? And Tae said he was playing him because of his friends, and that's because they used to watch this Chinese series that stars this character called Yeonjan, and he always plays the character and practices character with Oh-aew, but that also became the reason why they kind of like fell apart, because the Oh-aew got the part of Yeonjan in the school play, not Tae. And ever since they fell apart, Tae always remembered, and he felt guilty about, them falling apart. Obviously the ITSAY was all about they kind of getting back to best friends and then start falling in love. But so it's always about like, obviously he has passion for acting, but at the same time it's very closely linked with his feeling towards Oh-aew. In a way, he's like, because of Oh-aew he's acting. So when Oh-aew says he doesn't want to be an actor anymore, very kind of like crucial part of his passion also kind of maybe fell off, or because the whole, I think in the first episode and maybe up until the middle of the even by to the end of episode 2 of I Promise You the Moon, as a viewer I felt like it was Oh-aew who was not being independent and relying on others for their kind of like validations, and maybe that's partly true, but at the same time it was actually Tae who's not independent from other people's validation. It was always Tae who was kind of relying on other people. He always needed other people's support, which is not a bad thing, but I'm just saying it's just something that I didn't realize until the end. But yeah, it just turned out that Oh-aew was he was more quick to realize that he shouldn't pursue acting, because not only because I do think he still does want to do acting. He's not giving a good chance that he can actually act, because there's always kind of like a bias towards feminine men, and in the industry, also maybe in acting education as well. So he's always kind of like discouraged to play the role because it doesn't, like, his personality doesn't fit. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong about a male character being feminine, or there's nothing wrong about anyone being feminine. Anyone of any gender can identify as anything and then express feminine side of themselves. I think there's a struggle within Oh-aew as well, that because of his personality, he has to give up acting, which is really, really not fair. And I do kind of wish they explored a little bit more on that side. I mean, there's 3 more episodes in it, so maybe they will do. But the one thing is that the way in, you know, in the advertising class or something, when the whole class didn't have a clue why there is such thing as like female razor and male razor, and then when they presented it as Oh-aew as like knowing what the women want, it's kind of in a way enforcing the idea that feminine men can understand what women feel like. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it, it's just like the way they presented it, it was, I'm not sure if you're, because I thought when they were showing the audition scene, I thought they were criticizing the fact that, you know, the industry is looking for, there is a bias towards feminine men. But then if you present Oh-aew as someone who can understand more kind of like female needs, I don't know if that works. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm not sure, I'm really not sure. It's there's a lot of ideas in this episode that I can't really, I cannot process. I'm like 5 years older than most of these characters, and I feel like I'm not fully understanding what they're experiencing while pursuing a dream of being an actor, because maybe I don't have the same experience of pursuing like just one dream. I've always been more kind of like doing anything that I can get, more kind of like that. I might have to watch this again and think about what I feel about this episode. There was a lot. It wasn't as much it was about Oh-aew, and well, the one thing that I was like, so I was really I feel so frustrated is that scene with the dinner scene where Tae was being a total jerk about Oh-aew quitting acting, and like he was doing the same thing as the first episode of ITSAY, you know, like criticizing Oh-aew for being a quitter and him not figuring out what he wants to do. I mean, he did apologize, but it's not the first time that he does this kind of thing, so it's like a little disappointment. Like, you would expect a character development, and when a character like Ted does the same thing as the episode 1 of the first season, it really frustrated me. I know exactly how it feels when people criticize you for being like Oh-aew. Like, yeah, I just kind of, maybe I just took it very personally. But that scene, it hit me really, yeah, it hit me quite hard in my like, that moment I really did not like Tae. Like, hello, 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 hello. Okay, so I wanted to quickly talk about I Promise You the Moon episode 2. today, as I'm speaking, actually trying to watch the third episode of A Promise to the Moon in a minute. But before that, I wanted to kind of wrap up my thoughts on episode 2, because I kind of rumbled after doing the reaction, but didn't really kind of didn't really conclude the whole what my like final review of the episode 2. I think after kind of like rewatching the whole episode while trying to edit the reaction, I think I really think that this episode 2 was very meticulously well written episode, because it really kind of had the twist of the kind of viewing experience, not necessarily a plot twist, but as I spoke before, I think as a viewer, we all kind of watched the episode 2, the whole episode 2 from the beginning. We thought it was Oh-aew who kind of like, even from last Twilight in Phuket, we thought it was Oh-aew who was kind of stuck in the old time and always reminiscent of his hometown. But in the end of the episode 2, we kind of found out it was not Oh-aew who was stuck, but it was actually Tae who was stuck in his old kind of childhood dream, which is not a bad thing. It's just that it's not a bad thing to kind of stick with your original dream, but I think there is a serious, he needs a lot of growing up as a person to so the reason why I thought it is that throughout the episode 2, there were a lot of links to the episode 1 and episode 2 of I Told Sunset About You, and I think especially with episode 2, it linked with a lot of things with episode 2 of ITSAY. The reason why I thought that is that actually in Japan right now, I Told Sunset About You is airing on the channel called WoW, and you can watch it on TV and you can watch on your laptop, but so I was watching, and then they were airing episode 2 this week. Episode 2 of I Told Sunset About You, and there was a scene when they were studying Chinese, and then after studying session, the two, Tae and Oh-aew, went to a cafe, and Tae just assumed that it was only 2 of them, but then Oh-aew invited all of his friends, so Tae got kind of upset the fact that Oh-aew didn't want to spend time just with Tae. So he was kind of like frustrated, and so when he went to his school, he just like run away from the school, and then he went back to his house, wore the old uniform, changed the old uniform, and then they went to his old school which Oh-aew and his friends goes, and then he kind of confesses that he doesn't want to be just one of Oh-aew's friends. He wants to be the best friend. He wants to be their friend, and then Oh-aew, and then Oh-aew like, okay, yeah, of course you're best friend, like I'm gonna tell you my secret, and then he tells that he likes bath. But he's this whole kind of like, I don't want the things to change, even though it's been how many years? I think 4 years since they kind of fell apart and then reunited. There was like a big chunk of time. I think 4 years as an adult, it doesn't seem a lot, but I think as a child, 4 years is a lot of time to spend apart, to the point that you could be like you could act completely like a stranger. I think this idea of Tae that like nothing can change, the mindset that, you know, nothing can change, it's still there as a university student in episode 2 of I Promise You the Moon, how he is like really sticking with his dream of becoming an actor, not just like him becoming an actor, but Tae and Oh-aew, both of them becoming an actor and becoming a really successful actor. And he just can't let that go, even though the time passes, that people change all the time, but he's really stuck in his kind of very not small mindset, but you know, yeah, his own world. Because like throughout the episode we see Tae really kind of flourishing in university. He's absorbing all these knowledge, learning all these things. He's so excited that he's second year student. He's now finally learning something about acting, because the first year he couldn't do anything with acting. That's why he joined the club. But now he can actually do something with performing arts, which he always wanted to do. So he's like really, you know, blossoming as a performing arts student. But so what we see is like his growth as a student, but what we don't see is that his growth as a person, as him maturing in a way that to understand his surroundings. He's growing in a way that, you know, he's getting more knowledge and all that stuff, but it's kind of yeah, so he has his own way of thinking that what it's like personal growth is, which is like going to this school and going to like all these auditions, get a big part. But I think, so yeah, like I said in the reaction video, I think there is always different way of growing up, different way of growth, or different way of achieving your goal. So some people might invest a lot of time, some people might invest a lot of emotions, a lot of thinking, a lot of mental labor, I think. And I think Oh-aew has spent enough mental labor, which costed his kind of lack of, maybe like even like the decrease of his self-esteem, because of all the criticism that he's got, because people see how like his femininity is a kind of trait that doesn't really lead him to be a good actor, although it shouldn't matter in an ideal world, or in the world that makes sense. I think a man who's feminine should still be given a chance to act, because that's what acting is. And also, you know, there's no problem with a male character being a little feminine, with a little, you know, essence of Oh-aew himself, his character. There are a lot of, you know, actors who put their own experience in their acting. I think it should be allowed for Oh-aew to do the same. yeah, so I think Oh-aew has spent like so much emotional investment, but he realized that it's not worth it because it was costing his mental health, maybe. Or at least that's what it looked to me. But Tae doesn't really understand because his circumstance is different. His, physique and, gesture, facial expression, kind of the way he expresses himself is more leaned towards like masculine traits. So it's considered more kind of maybe ideal rather than a person like Oh-aew in the industry. So he doesn't get that criticism. Instead, he gets more constructive criticism, or at least something that he doesn't get personally attacked. So I think I wished in the next few episodes Tae comes to realize what Oh-aew went through and really understand why Oh-aew wanted to give up on his acting. And when it comes to Oh-aew, I think I really wish that I wasn't actually sure if he really wanted to do Advertisement, because I do think his, as a character trait, he does really rely on other people's validations. Like when he wanted to be an actor at first, he did a play in the beginning when he was young, and he got all these like praises, and that's how he kind of became. That's how he wanted to become an actor. When he finally got the validation that he deserves. But I think this time is kind of similar in the class that he was sitting for Advertisement. He was asked a question. He answered very well. I think what I wanted to say about the question is that how the teacher was asking about the female blazer, like why is it different? Why is it gendered? And that bit to me didn't really make sense in the episode, because I think the whole episode seemed to be a critique of how there is stigma attached to, or stigma against feminine men and feminine actors not getting the good acting jobs. I felt like when they show that, Oh-aew knowing kind of like why is it, like how it's gendered, how it's like feminine, what's the feminine, why is feminine product like this, like how the grips are different. Like I think it kind of reinforces this like stereotypical idea that feminine men can understand female need. If I was a writer and if I have to write the scene necessarily for the story to kind of develop, because they need Oh-aew to go to a different path, right? Then I would probably add a scene where, of course, like, because obviously Oh-aew shaves his legs. We all know, we've seen his legs, he is very smooth. And we've seen in the trailer, we've seen in like opening sequel, we've seen in like, several scenes where his legs are exposed, and we know that it's smooth, there's no hair. So obviously he shaves, right? Which I think it's okay. Like I don't shave my legs. I have no problem with it, and I have no problem with men shaving their legs. But I think if there is a gendered product that is like for women, because they have to shape their legs, the grips are different. But if what happens when men want to shave? Doesn't that mean that they have to buy the women female product? I think I would show that, you know, I would show him using a female product and shaving, maybe like complaining something about, you know, why is it so expensive to buy just a single laser. I would add something like that to, you know, make it make sense, because there's nothing. Yeah, I think that would make sense more. Like if there was a scene where he is shaving his legs, maybe with like taking a bath with hair and shaving his legs, and like, oh, well, I want to shave my legs. I like it better because it's smooth, but I always have to buy a feminized product or a feminine product, a feminine laser, and it's always a little bit more expensive or something like that, because I think feminine lasers tend to be more expensive than the male ones. And I think, yeah, it would make sense more if, and then he goes to class and he knows that, oh, actually I know the answer. Yeah, like I guess he could be like really, really, really gifted in advertising and knows that, like, why the products are gendered and all that stuff. But that specific scene, it just didn't really sit well with me. I didn't think it made sense. I mean, I've talked to some of the Twitter followers, and then one of them said, oh, I thought it was critiquing the fact that even the laser is gendered, but I didn't think it was like being very obvious if they are, because yeah, I didn't think they could be more obvious if they want to critique that kind of thing. But yeah, anyways, I think that's it. Yeah, I think the very last scene was so beautiful and also so well written, especially when Tess said, your reasons made sense. It was me who didn't want to believe that Oh-aew wanted to pursue advertisement instead of acting, because Tae thought if Oh-aew chose acting by himself, that means that he wanted to leave Tae. And it was really, really, really heartbreaking, really emotional, and that was the kind of moment that I realized that, oh, it's actually Tae who is kind of stuck in his own childhood dream. And I felt really, 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 really sorry for. And sometimes it's easier to stick with your own like original idea, original dream, just because you just don't have to change, just because you're afraid of change. That's when I realized that, oh, like Tae has a lot of growing up to do, and to realize that himself is really hard, especially when your partner is trying to change or already changing. So yeah, I don't know if I articulated it very well, but overall I really, really like episode 2. Actually, in ITSAY, all of the 5 episodes of ITSAY, episode 2 is my favorite, just because from the beginning to the end, it's just, I think it's perfect. You know how it starts with them like studying in Tae's house, and the whole like kind of framing and interior design, cinematography, the way the acting is so natural, and then it builds up the Tae's kind of realization of like feeling of jealousy although in the beginning he doesn't know what he's feeling, and you know, all confessing that he likes bass, and Tae's so excited because of the fact that, you know, simply because he knows that she shares the secret with Oh-aew. And I find it really, really cute. And then to the end, the ending scene is like, I think it's so perfect. And I think the second episode of I Promise You the Moon was also very, very, very well written. I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm very excited for episode 3, which I'm gonna watch now as I'm speaking. I'm sorry this whole kind of episode 2 review is coming out very late. I'm not sure if it's even relevant. I'm not even sure if people are gonna watch it, but I don't want this channel to be a place where I only do a reaction. I want to express my own opinion about the show, even if it means to critique some of the bits of the shows, because, you know, you don't always have to support everything about your favorite show. You can have your own opinion, you can criticize it constructively, and you can always have your opinion about it. So, but I think overall episode 2 is well written, but Tae has a lot of learning to do. Learning about himself, learning about his surrounding, learning about Oh-aew, and I would love to see that for the next 3 episodes. So I think I'm gonna wrap up now, and I'm gonna try to finish watching episode 3, which seems to be a big drama. I haven't seen anything. I'm trying not to see anything, but I've seen like some tweets, not any like photos, not any spoilers, but people were like, ooh. So I'm quite excited. That's it. Bye.